Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something pretty extraordinary, actually. It's a development that, well, insiders are calling the most disruptive law in African history.
That's right. We're talking about a fundamental shift, really. A whole new piece of legislation that just changes the ground rules for presidents, for leaders, right across the continent.
And our mission today is basically to give you the shortcut, the inside track on this. What is this law? How did it even come about? What does it really mean for accountability?
And the ripple effects, because they are seismic. Not just in Africa, but, globally too.
So, yeah, get ready to maybe rethink some assumptions about political power.
Definitely, because the headline here, honestly, is that no president is safe now. There's that quote from Chairman Shadow, someone involved in the AU Legislative Council. He put it bluntly, this isn't reform, this is revolution.
Wow.
The act applies continent-wide. From national presidents to regional governors, everyone is now accountable within a single judicial system. I mean, it's just transformative, nothing like we've seen before.
Okay, transformative. Let's unpack that.
Yeah.
The law itself, the One Africa Transparency and Accountability Act, OATA. What's the core principle here?
The absolute core is this. Any head of government, could be local, regional, national, doesn't matter if they're accused of human rights violations, financial corruption, or trying to grab power unconstitutionally.
Right.
They now face trial directly under the One Africa Supreme Court, not their national courts first, straight to the top.
And this isn't just like a theoretical thing, it names names or implies who's covered.
Very explicit. Figures you've definitely heard of. Emerson Mnangagwa, Ibrahim Traoré, Cyril Ramaphosa, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, William Ruto. And importantly, any regional governor within this new One Africa structure.
So everyone.
The sources are crystal clear. No exceptions, no carryovers. It's a total break from, each country trying to tackle corruption or dictatorship on its own.
A unified front? That sounds powerful. But I mean, historically, getting that kind of continent-wide agreement on anything, let alone something this radical that hits right at the top, that's tough.
Extremely tough.
How do they actually pull this off, especially when so many big names had, well, skin in the game?
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting. Our contacts pieced together this secret leak timeline.
Okay.
It starts quietly. February 2025, the AU Ethics Committee meets in Addis Ababa. The mandate, cross-continental judicial reform, but very, very low-key.
Under the radar.
Completely. Then, by April 2025, there's a draft of this law circulating among heads of state. And this is crucial under strict Chatham House rules.
Meaning nobody talks about it outside the room, don't disclose.
Exactly. You can imagine the tension, right? Then, May 2025, just a month later, an emergency session is called in Lusaka. And somehow it gets overwhelming support to finalize the law.
Wow, that quick. Overwhelming support.
Astonishingly fast, yeah. And the final step, the actual signing. In June 2025, it was described as a low-key signing. Most civil society groups, they didn't even notice it happening at the time.
But the insiders knew?
Oh, the insiders, the ones following the committee, they were watching, holding their breath. This timeline, it shows a really careful, quiet strategy. Build momentum before anyone could really organize against it.
Masterful in a way, and it explains why those insiders were on edge. Because the real teeth, what's making leaders sweat, as they say, are the actual provisions in OATA.
Exactly.
So let's dig into those. What are the mechanisms here that really crank up the pressure? Where does it get really uncomfortable for those in power?
Okay, well, first, the big one. Supreme Court jurisdiction in abolishing presidential immunity. Completely gone. National courts, they can't block a case referred to the One Africa Supreme Court anymore.
Immunity just wiped away. Okay, what else?
Second, public wealth disclosure. Every single leader has to publish their assets annually, right onto the AU's transparency portal.
So no more hiding wealth offshore or through proxies, theoretically.
Theoretically, yes. It's meant to be out in the open. Third, and this is a huge shift for citizen power, the impeachment triggers.
How does that work?
It means civil lawsuits, evidence from the media, even credible whistleblower claims on social media. Any of those can now trigger a formal investigation.
So it's not just internal government processes anymore. The public can initiate.
Precisely. It opens up completely new channels. Fourth, this external consent prohibition.
Meaning
no leader can get immunity by cutting deals with foreign powers. No pardons from foreign presidents, no protection from international corporations. That loophole, slammed shut.
Okay, that closes off an escape route.
Definitely. Fifth, the extradition clause. This one's huge. AU enforcement agents get the power to arrest sitting heads of state who've been indicted under OAT.
Arrest sitting presidents.
Anywhere in AU territory.
Anywhere, just pause on that.
Yeah.
AU agents potentially arresting a current president or prime minister. What does that do to traditional ideas of, like, national sovereignty?
It completely redraws the lines, doesn't it? It shifts the ultimate authority, you could say, from the individual leader back to this collective, continent-wide rule of law.
Okay. And there's one more.
Yes. Finally, fast-track trials. Cases have to be heard within 12 months. No more dragging things out for years, hoping people forget or, evidence disappears.
No more justice delayed, justice denied.
That's the intent. As Protocol Black, one of the legal advisors, apparently said it's not paranoia if they're watching.
That sums it up pretty well. So who was behind this? Who were the architects driving such a massive change? Our reports say it was quite a coalition.
It really was. And you needed that broad base. It wasn't just one group. You had Pan-African civil society organizations, many linked with Mama Pan-Africa, pushing hard from the grassroots, from the outside.
Right, the activists.
Then inside the system, you had the AU's own ethics reform committees and these African technocrats, the specialists in anti-corruption policy. They knew how to navigate the bureaucracy.
So inside-outside strategy.
Exactly. And crucially, you had political will. This new generation of leaders, younger heads of state people like Trier and RTO, were mentioned. They provided that essential public backing, especially at that key Lusaka meeting.
And Chairman Shadow, his comment about strategy seems key here. He said, it wasn't just moral, it was strategic. If one Africa is going to hold institutions together, we must trust our systems, not fear a leader.
Yeah, that points to the bigger picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The long-term vision for institutional trust, not just punishing individuals.
But surely, even with that vision, it wasn't all smooth sailing behind closed doors.
Oh, absolutely not. Our sources paint a picture of some serious drama, publicly. Sure, most leaders made statements supporting transparency. You have to, right?
Standard procedure.
But privately, a very different story. We heard reports, a few leaders literally scribbled bullshit in the margins of the draft.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Others apparently warned it could cause chaos, civil unrest if it was misused for political hits.
Understandable concern, I suppose.
And there was that one minister apparently just blurting out in frustration, something like, if we're not safe, where does that leave the presidency? We're kings.
Wow. We're kings. That says a lot about the old mindset.
It really does.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. Despite all that pushback, that fear, the final vote was reportedly nearly unanimous.
Nearly unanimous? How? What changed their minds or forced their hand? Was it just the momentum?
It seems like a combination. The pressure from civil society was immense. The strategic work by the committees and technocrats laid the groundwork. And maybe, just maybe, that support from the younger reformist leaders created a critical mass.
So the tide just turned.
The tide turned. Reluctant leaders probably saw the writing on the wall. Public opinion was shifting. Resisting looked worse than signing on. And so, yeah, history was made.
And it's not just history on paper. The impact is already being felt, right? Cases are moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. Our people in Lusaka, Pretoria, Nairobi are confirming it. Preliminary cases are already underway. This isn't waiting around. It's happening now.
Can you give us some examples? What kind of cases are we seeing first?
Sure. Concrete examples are popping up. There's a former governor from Burkina Faso accused of pocketing public health funds.
Okay.
A regional governor in Zimbabwe, apparently under house arrest for election bribery charges. An Ethiopian tech minister, this one's interesting, indicted for digital surveillance misconduct. And even a minister from a coastal state charged over land grab violations. So it's hitting different levels, different sectors.
And these aren't just being handled locally.
No, that's the point. They're being fast-tracked, moved towards the One Africa Supreme Court, and the public is watching very closely. The message seems to be, justice is no longer theoretical.
So how is this landing on the street? What are ordinary people saying? In the markets, online?
The reactions are powerful, really capture the feeling.
Like what?
Well, you hear things like a taxi driver in Herrera reportedly said, finally, the big men can't hide in mansions.
Simple, but says it all.
Yeah. Or a university student in Nairobi. No one said my vote was just paper. Now the president can lose his job, too.
Yeah.
That sense of real consequence.
Yeah.
In Lagos, a market vendor apparently said, if the boss steals, he goes to jail, just like us. That feeling of equality before the law.
Wow.
And online, a Facebook activist shared something like, we posted a leak. Now they say they're investigating. That's progress. You see that connection between digital activism and real-world action?
It really feels like empowerment, doesn't it? But this isn't just an internal African affair. What about the rest of the world? How are, say, Western powers reacting?
Ah, yes, the global implications. Very significant. There was a leaked diplomatic cable, apparently from the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria. Quite revealing.
What did it say?
It basically read, by removing presidential immunity and enabling extradition for corruption, the AU has created a system we can't influence. Long-lived leaders are now massive liabilities.
Wow, a system we can't influence. That's blunt.
Extremely blunt. The implication is pretty stark, isn't it? The old ways of potentially shielding clients, ensuring stability through certain long-standing figures, maybe even corrupt ones, that leverage is gone.
So the West, or parts of it, can no longer guarantee protection for allies if they fall foul of this law.
That seems to be the assessment. It really shifts the dynamics of foreign relations with the continent and other big players.
Yeah.
Russia, China, apparently watching very closely but keeping quiet. Interest in silence was the phrase used.
Okay, so massive potential upside accountability, citizen power. But any law this powerful, this sweeping, there have to be risks, right? Concerns about misuse.
Absolutely. And those involved acknowledge it. The potential downsides are real. Could leaders weaponize OAT against political opponents? Sure.
Right, turn it into a political tool.
Could civil society groups maybe get overzealous and flood the courts with weak claims? Possibly. Could attempts to extradite a leader spark regional tensions, even conflict? That's a definite risk. It's certainly not foolproof.
So given those risks, what about safeguards? Are there checks and balances built in? Or is it just hoping for the best?
No, they did build in what Mama Pan Africa called crucial guardrails. It wasn't an afterthought.
Like what specifically? How do they work?
Well, there are civil society review boards meant to monitor how the law is applied. Public hearings for major cases will be broadcast on Afronet. Transparency is key.
Okay, public scrutiny.
There's a right to appeal decisions within 30 days. And importantly, regional ombudsmen who are specifically empowered to flag potential misuse or politically motivated cases.
So layers of oversight. Are they strong enough, do you think, or more symbolic?
It's probably too early to say definitively how robust they'll prove in practice, but they represent a serious attempt. They're designed as active checks, not just window dressing.
Right. So the conclusion seems to be, as you said earlier, this isn't perfect, but for the first time, it's not leader supremacy, it's leader accountability.
That captures the essence of it, yeah. And that shift towards accountability, towards trust, is already having tangible effects on the economy.
How so? What's the economic ripple effect?
Well, trust is fundamental to markets, right? Investors are reportedly starting to feel safer, more confident.
Okay.
We're hearing from speculators in Johannesburg, for instance, that they're seeing more asset flows into countries that are showing strong OATA compliance, good transparency ratings.
Money follows trust.
Exactly. And we're seeing innovation, too. A rise in things like Afrotalk trading, that's local stock exchanges and even blockchain being used to verify these public asset disclosures, adding that layer of tech-based trust.
Interesting. And it affects business directly.
Yes. Corporate governance reforms are now apparently mandatory if you want AU contracts. And get this, World Bank advisors are quietly telling clients, if your country enforces OATA properly, investment risk drops by 40%.
40%, that is huge.
Huge. It really underscores why some are calling this a continent-building moment.
Can you elaborate on that? What makes this uniquely continent-building? Is it just the investment or something deeper?
I think it's deeper. It tackles head-on one of the biggest historical drags on development, the perception and often reality of unchecked power and corruption. By creating a framework for accountability, OATA builds institutional trust.
Right.
That stability, that predictability, it doesn't just attract foreign capital, it encourages domestic investment too. It changes the whole risk calculation. It shifts the narrative from managing Africa's risks to investing in Africa's opportunities. That's fundamental.
That makes sense. A foundational shift. And as often happens, Africa is processing this huge change with humor, right? Through memes, jokes.
Oh, absolutely. It's already part of the public conversation, the culture. There's supposedly a meme going viral in Lusaka. The only safe place is under the same law as the president.
Oh, perfect.
In Zimbabwe, bar jokes like, Nangwa on trial. Gotta love African drama now. It's become entertainment almost.
And Nigeria.
A Nigerian joke doing the rounds. If the law says no immunity, tell Ruto to leave his throne at the gates. Just cutting right to the core of it.
Even the tech people.
Yeah, the tech community is like, every app now needs public disclosure compliance. Let me write that script. finding the angle, you know?
Yeah.
It shows how deep it's penetrating.
It really does. So, looking ahead, what's the immediate future look like? What should we expect next?
Well, insiders are bracing for basically a steady stream of activity. They expect new cases to be filed pretty much every week.
Wow, that fast.
Yeah. We should start seeing those presidential asset disclosures actually appearing on the AU Transparency Portal. That'll be fascinating to watch.
Real-time accountability.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Civil rights groups are launching tools like Know Your Leader apps on Afronet, giving citizens direct access to this information.
Empowering people directly.
And those first extradition hearings, expect them to be live streamed. Maximum public scrutiny.
That will be intense. Potential for backlash, too, presumably.
Oh, for sure. If politicians are seen to be blocking investigations or interfering, you could see significant public anger. And the word is, at least 6 more presidents are already under some kind of preliminary review.
6 more. Okay. So, yeah, tensions are definitely rising.
Tensions are rising, but arguably, so is legitimacy.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off, perhaps.
It feels like what Africa has managed to create here is, well, genuine accountability, a real shift.
It really seems that way.
Hmm.
Moving away from leaders ruling by fear or just impunity towards something else. There was that quote to Kunda's question, are you here to lead or to take?
Right.
Now, that question has teeth. Leaders have to answer it, either through their service or potentially through facing trial. It's about responsibility.
And that changes the whole power dynamic. Now every citizen, theoretically, can ask their leaders, okay, show us the books. What's in your asset disclosure? What did you actually do with our money?
Yes. OIDA just rewrites the whole script. No more untouchables, no more presidents hiding in mansions above the law.
That really is power. That's justice, potentially. That's one Africa law in action.